What's up, Magic Makers? I had a conversation with somebody inside my Magic Mind community today around resistance, overcoming resistance, getting through it, dealing with it. And we had a long, deep discussion about the idea of resistance, what it is, how it shows up, and how I've personally learned to overcome it over the last 18 or so years. And I wished I had pressed recording, but I didn't. And so here I am trying to summarize some of the key points around it. So, resistance, it's that procrastination, it's the fear, it's the frustration. It can show up in so many ways of not wanting to do it, of just circling around and around and around, of waiting for the perfect moment to launch it, of never actually releasing anything to the world and holding everything on. It can show up as perfectionism. It can show up as sleeping in through your alarm. It can show up as staying up late, zoning out, and then sleeping in so you don't get all the hours in the day. There's so many ways resistance can show up. I deal with resistance every single day. It never really goes away. It's just I've been learning to get through my resistance for so long, so many times, that instead of this being this behemoth, it's more like a mosquito that I just brush away. For example, I wake up at 5 a.m. every day to go play golf in the mornings because I play professionally as my hobby. And every day that alarm goes off, almost every day. And I immediately feel like I just want to sleep in. I don't want to get up. I just want to roll back over. I want to press snooze. But I get up because I know the good feeling I'm going to have on the other side of going and doing this thing that I love, that I'm passionate about. Have resistance. Last year, I wrote and published 11 of my own books with my son. I was on a writing frenzy for Magic Kids. And every time I sat down to work on a new story, I would experience resistance. I didn't know how to start. I wouldn't know what to do. It was like, I don't know where the story's going. And I would have to work through that resistance every time. I experience resistance sometimes when I have to show up to a coaching client. I'd rather be story writing. There's resistance that plays out in my life, and I'm sure there's resistance that plays out in your life every single day, and how it rears its head is different for every single person. What I have learned over the years is one of the best ways to overcome resistance is, number one, to just get started. Just get started. If you're on a goal to write a book, then just get started and write a few pages. If you're on a mission to work on your website, then just try and write one block of the website. For me, I did a fitness challenge earlier this year, and I wanted to do a high intensity workout every day. Instead of trying to do 30 minutes of exercise every single day, I just set the goal of doing 3 minutes, because that was easy enough that I could overcome the resistance to simply just get started. And then by the time I got to my 3 minutes, it's like, well, shit, I'm just starting. I might as well do this for 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever it ended up being, because I overcame the resistance. The majority of the resistance is to just get started. It might end up being that, I have felt resistance in recording this video right now. It's like, I already had this conversation. I don't need to do this, but somebody like you might need what I have to share. And so the hardest part was setting up my camera, plugging in my microphone, sitting on my stool, and just pressing record. And then once I started, here we go. And that might be the same way. You might have to learn a new tech skill, whether it's learning how to produce or learning how to edit or whatever it might be. And if that is the thing, then you might feel resistance to going on YouTube and typing in the search of like how to use this editing software. Trust me, it sucks. But if you can just go do that simple act, follow the step-by-step process on YouTube, then you'll have that new skill within an hour or a few hours. And then you'll be smoother sailing from there. Doesn't mean the resistance ever goes away. It just means it might go from like, a giant bat flapping around your head all the time to a little mosquito that you just brush off. And that is the goal with resistance. And my philosophy for a long time has been ABC, always be creating. Because if you're always creating, you're always improving, your stuff just keeps getting better and people will gravitate to you. But if you're holding on to these precious ideas inside of yourself, you're never actually opening yourself up and giving those gifts to others. You're never giving yourself the other opportunity to receive that feedback, to have that law of reciprocity working in your favor. And so I encourage you to simply overcome resistance by just getting started. You can stew in it as long as you want. You can do as many resistance meditations as you want. But ultimately, whatever the thing is that you're trying to do, that you're experiencing resistance around, if you can just get started, write several words, write a page, do the thing. Start simple, start small, and what will happen is the resistance will start to go away as you start to get into a flow with it. And obviously, learning new things, starting fresh, that's the hardest. That's where the biggest resistance will rear its head. But if you get started, then things will start to get easier and easier, and the flow will happen. And if your resistance is so thick and so sticky, then ask somebody for help. Talk to somebody about the resistance you're experiencing. Talk about the reasons you might be experiencing that resistance. Maybe it's a fear of being seen. Maybe it's a fear of being ridiculed or criticized, or we have so many childhood traumas that come up as we step into creatorship, as we step onto the stage of sharing our gifts with the world and sharing what we're passionate about and inspired by. And we see so many other people that are perfecting their craft because they've been doing it so long, and we judge ourselves. It's really important that you allow yourself to have that beginner's mind, to take those steps as a beginner, because that's how you eventually go from good to great. You just got to practice every single day. And so if you start with setting the alarm for 3 minutes to exercise, eventually that 3 minutes might become 30 minutes, but you don't have to start with 30 minutes. However resistance is showing up in your life today, I encourage you to just decide what you're going to do, whether it's writing, whether it's exercise, whatever it might be. Set an alarm for an accessible amount. For this particular case, we set the alarm for 20 minutes, and she did 20 minutes of focused writing on a specific topic she wanted to work on. And by the end of that 20 minutes, she had 2 pages of notes. Because when we just decide to feel the resistance and act anyways, we take big steps forward, and we start to open ourselves up to that flow state. But the flow state's never going to happen if you don't get started. If you keep thinking about the resistance, if you keep circling around and around and around like the lion circling the prey, but you never actually take action, you got to take action. That's how you get rid of the resistance. And it doesn't have to be perfect your first time. Just do the thing. Just do it. Just like this. This is a one-take wonder. I'm not editing this shit. No way. Because I overcame my resistance. I hope this was helpful. I'd love to hear from you. And if you need help conquering your resistance every single week, join the Magic Mind community that I run, because this is a creative container for you to do your great work in the world and for you to improve and refine your craft as a creator, and so you can learn how to make money and serve people by doing your gifts. Thanks so much for watching or listening, and I hope this has been helpful.